Historically, England was made up of many large and powerful kingdoms, with them not unifying into the nation we know as England today until the year 927. In this video, similar to my video about the Kingdom of Kent, I'm going to be covering the history of a region where I can trace back a lot of my ancestry to, East Anglia. Despite being one of the, if not the first place in England to be settled by the Anglo-Saxons, or to be more specific, the Anglo tribe of southern Denmark in the case of East Anglia, it didn't actually become its own kingdom until roughly 75 to 100 years after the Anglo-Saxons arrived in England. Like many Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, it is unclear when exactly it was formed, but it is known it was sometime in the early or mid-6th century. The first king of East Anglia is believed to be an Angleman named Weha, who was in turn followed by his son Wuffa, who would become the namesake of their dynasty, the Wuffingers. Over the next century, the kingdom of East Anglia would solidify its place in England and become a powerful kingdom. A kingdom which is primarily made up of the two modern-day counties of Norfolk and Suffolk. Like the other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, East Anglia would remain fiercely pagan in its early days, with the first East Anglian king, Raedwald, being baptised in 604, although it is debatable how sincere this conversion was, as he was said to maintain a Christian altar, but still apparently worshipped the pagan gods. This did not seem to be the end of paganism in East Anglia, however, as when Raedwald died, he was succeeded by his son Earipwald, who was converted soon after taking the throne. But this doesn't appear to have been a very popular sentiment in East Anglia at the time, as soon after his coronation he would meet his death at the hands of a pagan Ricbert, who likely briefly ruled the kingdom. As it did everywhere else, however, Christianity would prevail in East Anglia, with the ascension of Earipwald's brother, or stepbrother, Siegbert, who was a Christian so devout that he would later abdicate in favour of his brother Egric and retire to a monastery. Unfortunately for the East Angles though, religious differences were the least of the kingdom's worries in this time period, as they came under heavy pressure from the growing kingdom of Mercia, which was, funnily enough, also an Anglian kingdom. In the early 640s, the ambitious Mercian king Penda defeated and killed both Egric and Siegbert. After this, the kingdom did not fall directly into Mercian rule, however, as it seems Egric's successor, Anna, who was actually a man, despite that being a female name nowadays, coming to rule the tumultuous kingdom. Anna's rule wouldn't last very long, however, as he and his son German would soon after be killed at the Battle of Bullcamp near modern-day Blithburgh. Upon Anna and his son's death, East Anglia would, unfortunately for them, become more or less a puppet kingdom ruled by Aethelhere, who was the nephew of the previous East Anglian king Raedwald. Aethelhere's rule would last even shorter than his predecessors, however, as he was killed a mere year after his ascension in 655 alongside his Mercian overlord Penda in the Battle of Wynweird against the Northumbrians. Despite the death of Penda, East Anglia would remain a puppet kingdom of Mercia until 794, with the last king of the Wulfinger dynasty, Aelfwald, dying in 749. In 794, after being a puppet kingdom of his for so long, the ambitious Mercian king Offa had had enough of East Anglia's self-rule and decided to absorb the large kingdom into Mercia. He accomplished this by executing the East Anglian king Aethelbert. East Anglia would remain under Offa and Mercia for another 2 years until, upon the death of Offa, there was a brief revival of East Anglian independence. This, however, would quickly be suppressed by the new king of Mercia, Coenwulf. One would think this is the end of East Anglia's independence, but incredibly, East Anglian independence was once again restored via a rebellion led by Athelstan in 825. This rebellion, unlike its earlier counterpart, would not be so short-lived due to seemingly great leadership of their king, Athelstan. You see, Wessex was a rising power at this time and held great influence in England. In this fastly growing kingdom, Athelstan saw an opportunity to further solidify his newly independent kingdom's place in England, and appealed to Egbert of Wessex, naming him his overlord in return for a guarantee of East Anglian independence. Due to this great leadership, the kingdom of East Anglia would remain relatively stable until, unfortunately for them, tragedy struck again, this time by the hands of the Great Heathen Army. After ravaging England and East Anglia in 865, the Danes would return in 869 to truly seal the fate of the East Angles. They ravaged the countryside until inevitably the East Anglian king Edmund attacked them in an attempt to send them back home with a decisive military victory. Unfortunately for East Anglia, their forces as well as their king would be defeated and killed. After this point, East Anglia would never be its own independent kingdom again and was ruled by the Danes until it would eventually be absorbed into the Kingdom of England. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as give me any suggestions for future videos or any constructive criticism you might have. But with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, night, wherever you are, and I hope to see you lovely people in the next one.